This is actually such a great question, and thank you for asking me. And I'm going to be reading the symptoms off from the Borderline Personality Disorder Workbook. So there's 9 qualifications for it. And the first one is frantic efforts to avoid real or imagined abandonment. And I'm going to read the example that goes along with it. It says, Betty perceived that her boyfriend was abandoning her because he didn't respond to her gift quick enough, which drove her to break up with him, causing her to feel even more abandoned. She had a history of inappropriate behavior related to feeling abandoned. Number 2, a pattern of unstable and intense interpersonal relationships characterized by alternating between extremes of idealization and devaluation. Example, when Betty met Steven, she was head over heels in love and wanted to talk with him every day, but she broke up with him, referred to him as the devil when he didn't respond quickly enough to her text about a gift she left on his doorstep. She'd had similar experiences in her previous 3 boyfriends. Number 3, identity disturbance. Markedly and persistently unstable self-image or sense of self. Example, Betty had difficulty making and keeping friends as she tended to change the types of people she liked to spend time with, and her views and values changed to match them. Number 4, impulsivity in at least 2 areas that are potentially self-damaging. For example, spending, sex, substance abuse, reckless driving, binge eating. Example, when she wasn't in a relationship, Betty compulsively searched the internet for her next encounter. She drove recklessly and had 2 DUIs, and she shoplifted if things got too boring. Number 5, recurrent suicidal behavior, gestures, or threats or self-mutilating behavior. Example, Betty had a history of self-mutilation, cutting her arms or legs when she was under stress or feeling lonely. She cut her arms after breaking up with Steven. Number 6, affective instability due to a marked reactivity of mood. For example, intense episodic dysphoria, irritability, or anxiety usually lasting a few hours and only rarely more than a few days. When she wasn't around her friends, Betty often curled up in her bed and cried or gasped for days to calm herself and feel connected, such as going on texting sprees or scouring dating sites for her next hookup. Number 7, chronic feelings of emptiness. Betty often felt alone, even when she was hooking up or was with a significant other. She'd say, I'm usually alone in a crowded room. Number 8, inappropriate intense anger or difficulty controlling anger. For example, frequent displays of temper, constant anger, recurrent physical fights. Example, Betty had multiple intense arguments and physical altercation with her friends, boyfriends, family members, and coworkers. And number 9, this is the last qualification. Transient, stress-related paranoid ideation or severe dissociative symptoms. Paranoid ideation is being afraid that others are plotting against you, and dissociation is mentally separating from physical or emotional experiences or both. When under a high degree of stress, Betty often felt detached from her body and the world around her and reported that she felt like she was a puppet with a stranger working her strings. So I hope that helped. And I hope that other people that were wondering about the symptoms of BPD have a better idea of that. And I think that to be qualified for BPD, you have to have at least 7 out of the 9. I'm not sure, but there is like an intensity level of each one, mild, moderate, severe, extreme. It's a spectrum. So